Good to be back.
Taking a bite of the Big Apple, huh?
I was. Nueva
City.
York, fresh off the plane.
How was it?
Long weekend, man. It was good. It's first day off I've had in a little bit.
Please tell me you ate pizza.
Of course, yeah.
Okay,
of course, yeah.
Good.
So it was an impromptu trip to New York for me.
How
impromptu.
so? What happened?
So I was out there. So my sister got engaged.
Hey!
My sister's now former boyfriend proposed to her.
Congratulations.
So my sister got engaged. Yeah. So so she lives in New York with her boyfriend, and I just flew out there over the weekend. I'd gotten a heads up that he was going to be asking questions, and my parents were out there, and I flew out there. It was a surprise.
She had no idea.
No idea that I was going out there. Obviously, like in this industry, right? Like you have to miss a lot of significant sort of events, right? Just like our schedules get a little hectic, and I'm from Chicago originally, and my sister lives in New York. My parents are in Chicago, so I miss out on a lot of stuff. But I was glad I was able to fly out in advance, and you saw the video. Actually,
I was just going to say we have the moment. We want to show you exactly how this went down. Now walk us through it. She still doesn't have any idea, and then somebody comes flying around the corner.
Yeah, so I.
Oh my God.
I was at a bar around the corner. So I was staying at my buddy, one of my best friends from high school lives in New York City, and my sister got proposed to in this park, like this famous park, Gramercy Park in Manhattan. And that was on Sunday afternoon. And like all day, kind of I was around the corner at this like very classic sports bar. It's Chicago Bears bar. Like one of my best friends from high school was there. And I'm sleeping on his couch. So he and I are at this bar kind of waiting until they get to this other, reception after he proposes. And like, we're just watching the Bears get waxed by the Detroit Lions. But I'd planned ahead. Like I'd texted one of Kate's friends who was at the reception party, and she let me know when they'd arrived there. And I just kind of ran around the corner.
I love it.
Surprised
her reaction. I watched that video 30 times if I watched it once. It was so pure. I just love her excitement seeing you.
It was cool. Yeah.
Cool.
She got a little emotional with it, but just cause she knows that I'm not able to be at a lot of events, but it was cool that I was able to get out there and surprise her, and her now fiance, great dude. Really nice guy, everything kind of you hope for, and one of your siblings, significant other. I mean, dude, this guy guy runs like marathons all over the world. Like he's like a marathon guy.
Yeah.
And so like I crashed on my sister's couch on Sunday night. I'm just also like I'm crashing on couches. I was talking,
wait a minute. You're how old?
I just turned 30, and over the weekend I zonked on two different couches. So my buddy's couch on Saturday night when I got in, and then my sister's couch on Sunday, and not really comfortable. I appreciate the hospitality.
I'm going to tell you right now, man. The back's going to talk to you,
dude. But then on Sunday I'm sleeping there, and my flight's on Monday morning. I'm getting up and I'm flying out there, dude. My sister's fiance. Like he got up at 4:30 in the morning to go run like 10 miles before he went to his job.
Before work.
I'm like, dude,
10 miles.
You come on, man. Exactly. No, he's great. He's the man.
Awesome.
But yeah, then flew back. So it wasn't a ton of good sleep, especially I was telling you, like on my plane ride back to San Antonio, I was sitting in between the two biggest dudes I think I've ever seen in my life. So I was like, literally, like they were, and they had already gotten to the end seats. So they already had the armrests. So I was in the middle. I'm like, I get there and I'm like, nah, that's me in there. 15E, that's me. And they're like, oh, all right. So it took them a little bit to kind of get up and moving. And
your armrest become your
literally.
leg.
So they had already had the armrest, and these guys are massive.
Yeah.
Like just. If you told me they would have played offensive line, I wouldn't have been surprised. So like I could not like I was like arms like this and just like straight back. And it got to the point where like one of the flight attendants was walking by doing like the cross check before we go, and she just looks at me and just sees me like this, and even she just goes, "Sorry." And I'm like, yeah.
She sympathizes.
Is there nowhere else up there?
You don't have to worry about a seatbelt. I
No.
can see you're not moving.
No, I mean these guys were like big dudes and like in shape guys. So we were talking with our next guest about it a little.
I was just gonna say, speaking of in shape, speaking of big dudes, possibly the third strongest man to sit on this
He's
couch.
the third, definitely
Okay.
the third. The two strongest men in the world who also sat on this couch, but he is a strong third.
He's a strong third. He's Preston Wall. Come on, my man. What's going on?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Good to see you,
Thank y'all for
brother.
having me. I
Preston,
appreciate
man,
it.
welcome aboard.
No, this
Yeah.
is so cool. I knew this guy as a kid at First Baptist Church. I was teaching Sunday school, and he was in my class. He was a 9th grade, a real pain in the neck, too, by the way.
Nothing's changed. So, ask my wife.
How was Bill as a teacher?
Oh, he's great. I mean, charismatic. Always brought Krispy Kreme donuts, which,
Good.
we're
Yeah.
a Shipley's,
City.
folk
Yeah,
here in
city,
San Antonio.
yeah.
And but Krispy Kreme was so new at the time. I'm dating myself, like 2002. And so they were like a rarity because there was one in San Antonio, hard to find. And he somehow always brought them in. I remember that. So
Had to do it.
yeah,
Had to do it.
him and his beautiful wife just were so great to us. So
I can see Bill being like very much like a mnemonic devices kind of guy with teachers, like ones that like always like one of the acronyms and
Oh,
like
yeah.
using things and like I can see
Visuals. I used to use movie clips a lot.
Yeah.
It was just always wanted to illustrate, and because 9th grade, you got to keep their attention.
yeah, a lot of
Attention's
Tarantino.
jumping. A lot of Tarantino.
It's wild. It was wild.
a little different. A little
Yeah,
different.
yeah, for
and that's
sure.
crazy because you talk about Bill's like, oh, pain in the neck in class, right? But with what you do now, I mean, you were military service member. I mean, you were in the Air Force for how many years?
For 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
talk about your trajectory, I guess. When did you get into the Air Force?
So I actually enlisted my 18th birthday. I had known through high school. I mean, I had some opportunities to go play football in college a little bit. And at the time, it's just school was not the first thing on my mind. Nothing's changed there. I still hate school, but my wife made me go to school after we got married. But I really saw after 9/11 a need and a purpose. And, it was definitely a good career trajectory for me. And it's been great. I still work for the military as a civilian now. So I just hit 20 years a few months ago. And life's been nothing but a blessing. I have no complaints whatsoever there.
So was it 9/11 that really said, I want to do this now? It really inspired you?
Yeah, it was one of those things that actually, believe it or not, David Robinson came and preached at First Baptist the Sunday after 9/11. And I just remember something that he said about his military service and 9/11. I'm a kid. I'm a freshman in high school. I don't really understand the world, especially warfare wise. And something that just stuck with me and ingrained in me the next 3 years that, is college really my thing? And then I would think back on this sermon at First Baptist from David. And that was just my thing. So literally, I had pre-enlisted, if you will. I went into the DEP program when I was 17. I graduated high school at 17. And then the day I turned 18, I went in the military.
So, and you saw action. I mean, Preston, you were in the thick of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nicknames overseas. First place I went, this is called Balad Air Base, also known as LSA Anaconda, and nicknamed Mortaritaville. It's nicknamed that for a reason because 10 to 25 times a day you're talking about mortars, bombs going off.
That's you right there.
That's me.
That is a beardless you.
Clean shaven kiddo.
Yeah.
That beard.
Yeah. So
goodness.
19, turning 20 years old right there.
Okay.
So, and I look back, Bill and I had lunch a couple weeks ago, and I look back and I'm like, oh my Lord, they really trusted me at 19. And I led a very small team when I was overseas, and I was one of the youngest ranking people, 19 turning 20. I still was only an E3, but I had E2s who were working quote unquote for me. And I just think back like, why? I was a wild kid. Luckily, when I was deployed, I went into deployed mode. But when I went back to Germany, I went into party mode. So there was definitely two separate Prestons there. And I'm thankful for it today.
You were talking about a runway operation of like high level stuff.
Yeah. So depending on where you're at, you have, and one of my jobs when I was deployed overseas is after the airbase gets attacked, we go out and we actually do a post recon check of the airfield, and we're going out, and you have to do it very quickly and rapidly because you have fighter aircraft coming in, 2 to 4 of them once an hour to land and take off because they're constantly basically working shift up in the sky, and you have to go out and you're looking for any type of mortars that may not have activated when they hit, or something that has activated and the runway needs a rapid repair. So you work with your civil engineering team. Your civil engineering team comes out and they rapidly repair the runway. Luckily, in Balad, for instance, they have 2 runways there. So they would utilize the second runway during that time. But and with our air traffic control folks, they're trying to deviate traffic and make it basically so we have 2 runways so we can do a different operation on one and a different operation on another. So it's post mortar checks were always unique because you never know what you're going to run into out there.
And so this was at Balad, you said your runway came under attack?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty frequent occurrence. I mean, literally, like I said, it was called Mortaritaville. So we'd have this thing called Alarm Red. And
an attack from who? Al Qaeda or
so whoever the insurgents were overseas that were trying to basically attack the base.
This was the Iraq War?
Iraq, yes.
Okay.
So and it was really interesting because you become so accustomed to hearing this alarm go off that I'm not going to say stop caring because that's a terrible thing to say.
We became a little apathetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there was a point in time in our tents and our huts and wherever we'd be, it was kind of to the point where I remember when I first got there as my first deployment, I had gotten off the airplane and we immediately came under attack. And so we're diving in bunkers. We're not geared up properly. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, what am I getting myself into? Probably a month past that, when the alarm would go off, you went into kind of like screw it mode. You're like, hey, if Jesus is going to take me, today is the day. And it was funny. You would know who would be new to the base because you would watch their different reactions when we came under attack.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be a time where I was playing. I'm again dating myself here, but plasma TVs were like the big thing back in like 2007, right? And me and a bunch of my guys I lived with for the first 6 months pitched in and had a TV shipped to us, and literally in our we put our bunks surrounding like almost a movie theater, so we could all either watch a movie or we had like I don't even remember what the Xbox was at the time. It was the old Xbox.
It was the Xbox.
Yeah, probably the Xbox. And we'd play Halo or whatever. And I remember one of my staff sergeants was walking down the hall and he was like, alarm red's going off, red's going off. Get down. I'm playing Guitar Hero like, hey man, I'm good. Like that's just kind of the mentality you go into especially if you're not in a position to return fire or anything of that nature. So
which that was you guys. You were not going to.
No. I mean, I'm probably in my boxers, getting ready for bed, playing Guitar Hero, or a Rock Band had just come out. So like the drums were like the new thing or whatever. So it was, I was definitely a kid, and I look back and I'm thinking to myself, goodness gracious, I cannot believe the military trusted some of us. Cause I think of like, again, how I acted when I was in Germany, when I was 18 years old, and then in Balad, and then later on Mosul, Iraq, and thinking to myself, like totally different mentalities. So, people think it's very weird. Best 8 months of my life though. I really, really enjoyed it. You become very close to the people that are around you. You have nothing really to do. You work out, you go to the DFAC, and you hope you don't get hit by a mortar most of the time. Besides that, in my off time, which was seldom, I would work probably 14, 16 days straight. And then we would get a day off. And we actually were encouraged, hey, unless you're really needing some recovery time, go volunteer. Balad was the biggest, at the time, the biggest hospital in the Middle East. And not only would they service our service members, they would service local refugees as well that had been attacked. And at the time, and I still do, but Bill remembers I played guitar and sang at church growing up, and I had just transitioned from high school to the military. And when somebody had found out that I play guitar and sang, they had a PD unit there, little kiddos who had been injured some form or fashion. And instead of, when I first volunteered, I was helping pull bodies off helos and, kind of the thick of it crap, if you will.
Helos, like helicopters?
Helicopters, yeah, sorry. And assisting medevac teams and things like that. But then they found out I played guitar and sang. And they said kids love music, even if they can't understand the lyrics. Just we love. And they found a guitar. The bass chaplain had one, and they found a guitar. And probably every 2 weeks, I'd go to the PD unit and play guitar and sing for kids. And that's probably one of my favorite memories overseas.
That's so awesome.
And these are kids who I don't speak English.
Oh, correct.
Are they
Absolutely.
like Iraqi refugees or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some of them had been injured in forms of attacks. Either, there was a kiddo there who had got hit from a family member that was going to on a suicide mission, and he had got run over and just mangled part of his body, and he was going to be there a long, long time. And so it was in me, and I think it was potentially the Christian person in me at the time to say like, hey, I think that I can maybe do some good here by just playing a guitar. Wow. And I don't know if that's the case, but I'd like to think it was.
Oh, I know it was, man. I mean, you had to have felt how they felt and just the reaction, right? I mean, just the love and the, just the time that they can get into song and forget about things for a minute.
And again, I keep saying it because I was young. I was 19, turning 20 years old, my first deployment, and not thinking the long-term effects of some of the stuff that I either was seeing or doing. And that is a great example of something that I was doing that I look back on that I'm proud of, because I know that for a small portion, I hopefully or potentially touch this kiddo's life, or something he's going to remember. Hey, this white,
of course,
blonde-haired, blue-eyed dude sang guitar to me one time when I was in the hospital. So,
but now when you came back, things weren't all together okay for you, right? You had a little something going on, post-traumatically.
So at the time, we're talking 2007 to 2009 timeframe,
and that's when you were over there.
Yeah. Okay. So I was based in Germany, Ramstein. Amazing. I was 18 years old. I could legally drink beer. Mm-hmm. I mean, life was good. But I think a lot of folks would agree, especially vets, that mental health was did not have the advocacy it has now. And so when you came back from overseas, you literally have to fill out these forms, and it says like, are you okay mentally? Did you see combat? Did you see blood? Whatever it may be. Do you need to see a counselor? And maybe it was the pride in me from being like a high school football player turned military member that said like, oh, I don't need to check these boxes. Or it was the kind of cancel culture at the time of, hey, if you check these, you're like mental health. Oh, you're a weirdo. Or I don't think that was the actual verbiage that would be utilized. But
those two options that you just said, those two things you're wearing, in many ways, like those kind of go hand in hand, right? Sure. Like people like, the pride sort of takes over where I don't want to be looked at as somebody who would admit this, correct?
Right.
For sure. And, I think back, especially now as an older adult, but even when I was looking at those papers thinking like, hey man, I saw like a quarter of what some of these dudes did. I mean, they were in the thick of it, and I was pulling dead bodies off helicopters, and there was just a lot of people who had it a lot worse than me. And, everybody calls the Air Force the chair force for a reason, because we get treated really well. And shout out to my Army people out there and my Navy brethren and Marines. But, I think in that time frame, and even now, part of me says like, it could have been a lot worse for me. And maybe I was just too prideful to sign those papers saying I had needed mental health counseling or whatever. And I think that's leading to what you're getting at here is, over time, not addressing those things mentally turned into, well, I'm just going to drink a fifth of vodka every single day, or I'm just not going to think about it and sit around my room when I'm not deployed on a Sunday afternoon and drink an 18 pack of, Coors Light or whatever it was at the time, some cheap beer, because I was broke. But you don't really think about those things during that point in time. And it took me a long, long time to really, there were 2 points in my life in which I knew something needed to change. And that's when I got out of the military. it was really cool. My dad actually flew to California to take the track with me down. I had landed a civil service job in Miami, so it's a long drive. And I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, do you want to come hang out with me in the car for a few days?" And we made our stops. Stopped like Arizona and New Mexico and a couple other places. Just
Right
to,
on. That's I-10 that takes you right
yeah,
there.
yeah, So, you know, some sightseeing.
Same
and
one that takes you to San Antonio.
then you got that long 8-hour stretch between El Paso and San Antonio. That's a little rough, but
Been there, man.
I got to spend some time with my dad, which was really cool. And I remember when I dropped my dad off in San Antonio and then made the drive from San Antonio to Miami. On the way, I thought to myself, "Hey, man, I can't keep living like this. I'm too young to keep beating on my liver and just beat myself up mentally." And it wasn't, again, because I had it so bad when I was overseas. It's just the small things that I did have occur or I did see just were building up, and it was causing me not to sleep at night. And anytime a door would slam behind me, you know, I'd freak out, or, you know, just PTSD, if you will, type symptoms.
And this is your how old at this time?
I'm 22.
Wow.
So you had this car ride with Dad. Did you share with him where you were with that? Or
A
no?
little bit.
A little bit?
It was interesting. I'll digress here. Both my granddads served. My dad didn't, but one of my granddads, my mom's father, he served in Germany right after World War II. So he was there, like, helping clean up, and he was a mechanic, I believe. But my other granddad was a dual Purple Heart vet from Korea, and he was in the Korean War. And him and I had a very low key relationship growing up. He sat in his room, watched football, and now that I'm older and I'm a veteran, I understand why he did that. He just kind of lost touch over the years. Became a lot nicer of a man, and not to say he wasn't. It just opened up to me. But when I came back to San Antonio, they had just moved here. And my granddad pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And that was the first time in my life. He's probably 75, 80 years old. And he pulls me in the room and he just wanted to talk about being overseas. And it was really cool because he opened up to me that I didn't really have that relationship with him growing up. You know, I would drive the golf cart for him growing up and things like that. But this was more of a, hey, we connect now. We share something in common.
Right.
So while I did talk to my dad about some of it, specifically in that moment, I remember it was really cool. I got to connect with my granddad.
Was it would you find it was a little tougher to connect with your dad because he hadn't served?
Maybe. I'm not, maybe not. It was interesting because I didn't really want to talk about anything at the time. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to my next duty station. I want to get there, do my job, go home, you know, work out, drink, do whatever."
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
And I remember when I dropped my dad off, I had a lot of alone time to myself. I mean, you're talking 18-hour drive to Miami. And I called Don Guthrie from First Baptist. And I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to Miami. You're from Florida, from a small town, Perry, Florida, I remember." And I said, "Do you happen to know any pastors in Miami? I'd love to get back in church. It's been a long time." And he was like, "Go to University Baptist Church in Miami, talk to this pastor." Can't remember his name. Sorry. I'll call him and say you're coming. And that night, or that Sunday when I got there, I went to church that night and I met this group of folks that were around my age. And they were like, "Hey, next week we're going to go to this thing called Bibles and Beers." And I was like, "I'm in." Like, say less. And sure enough, it's them just going to a bar and talking scripture and theology. And I was hungry at the time, you know, hungry for something to change in my life. And in walks my wife. And obviously didn't know it at the time, but she's gorgeous. And I was like, "I want to meet this young lady." And what's funny is she'll tell you, she had sworn off like going out or being around dudes because she had just finished college and she really wanted to work on her career. And she had gone through a little bit of a breakup or whatever, but like something in her told her to go out that night. And we like started hanging out the next week. She actually helped me break up with a girl that I had just started talking to. And I think a month later we started dating. 3 months later we got engaged, and 6 months later we got married.
Wow.
So,
Awesome.
and so, I mean, I, two people that I attest to at that point in time in my life, just helping me change the trajectory of where I was probably going downhill, or meeting my wife. And then, but Don Guthrie saying, here, go to this church. And had that not happened, who knows where I'd be right now.
Well, I love that not only you see this change, God changes the atmosphere for you like this, using these people, but now what he did in you, he's doing through you as you're now president of Frontline Heroes Outdoors. Tell us about this
That's
shift.
what I want to hear about here.
Now you're serving veterans.
Sure. So a moment ago, I said there were 2 points in my life where I knew something needed to change. Meeting my wife, getting back to church was great, but I still had some inner demons and things that I had not addressed. And during COVID, as anybody would tell you, is a rough time. We're all trapped at our houses. I had a newborn and a toddler and a 5-year-old. And my wife was working from home, and either I was working from home or I was running the crisis action team at JBSA at night. And so just a lot of stuff that piled on to, hey, when I go under these like anxiety, PTSD, if you will, style moments, I know at the time knew nothing else to do but to drink. And so I started drinking semi heavily during COVID. And it turned to a point where I was thinking about taking my own life. I was sick of it. I was tired of it. My wife had called one of my best friends, and he'd come and pick me up, and we went and played video games. And I looked at him on the couch and I said, hey man, like I need to get into counseling. And sure enough, I went into counseling, and the counselor the VA matched me up with was a not to get into politics, but she's a female Democrat atheist, polar opposite of me, right? I'm a male Republican Christian, and her name is Allison, and Allison was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Awesome. She really, really changed my life, made me think about the goodness that I could provide or do through community service, because I had never really thought about it. For a few years, I had ran the Air Force Ball here at JBSA, and I helped run the air show a couple of times. And she just basically said, like, hey, have you ever thought about just volunteering and in your own time, not just during work things or whatever, because I worked for the military. And have you ever thought about putting effort towards serving others? And I thought back growing up, I did a lot of mission work. I went to Ciudad de Acuña, and I had gone to a few other places. And I remember how great I felt during that time. And I call it a God thing, if you will. Somebody had sent me a message that night on Facebook saying, hey, there's this hunting organization that's looking for volunteers. And I immediately called that individual, and we connected, and I started volunteering for them part-time. Ended up becoming the state director for them. They were a national nonprofit, and that was in 2021. And I did that for almost a little 3 years. And they're based in another state, and there's a lot of disconnects here in Texas for me. And I had a lot of people locally that just wanted to do more. And it's kind of just God telling me, hey, I think it's time for you to start your own thing. And I turned to two of my best friends at the time, and I said, hey guys, I think we can do this on our own. And we founded Frontline Heroes Outdoors. And our mission is to take military members, veterans, first responders, and their family members on any outdoor adventure they want to go on free of charge.
I love this, because you're not only including the veterans, you're including these first responders. We're looking right now at some pictures of wounded warriors, all kinds of different backgrounds, and this collective, this community. I mean, look at all these folks and all those smiles and just what you're being able to provide.
And when you say go anywhere they want to go, right? Is it something where a group of them get together and they come up with an idea and they go to you, or do you work with somebody else to come up with places?
So we have our own website, and on the website we announce trips that our staff members have coordinated or put together. And we have through the state of Texas, because we are Texas centric, we have about 40 people who volunteer for us, which that's another thing that makes us really unique is that myself as the president, my board, and all my staff, none of us collect a salary at all. So it's truly a volunteer-based organization, 501c3.
That's awesome,
And this is something
That's
that you do
awesome.
separate from your job at the base.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my second job, my off time, right? Outside of being a father of three who
Yep.
are in 4 different sports and a working wife who's an
Mhm.
assistant principal. And so it's a lot of stuff builds up time wise, but this, sometimes we have these moments where we go on these trips and we remember why we do this.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask. Like when you see these veterans experience these things,
Yeah.
when you see the joy, take us there for a minute. Like what is
Sure.
it like to feel that?
So I'm gonna cover your question real quick, so your audience can understand real quick. We have 2 different types of trips. We have our standard trips, which is like a lake day, a dove hunt, or a spa day for certain individuals. But then we also have specialty trips. So the specialty trips are typically something that's going to be a little bit more costly, like a trophy hunt or a trip of a lifetime. And the first ones I was talking about is just a standard sign up. Hey, I just want to go. And we have a AI algorithm that's set up that randomly picks people, and they cannot be picked within a 364-day time frame. So we're consistently taking new people on these trips. So we, spread the love, if you will. But the other ones, the specialty trips, are really, really focused on something that's very unique. We have a couple of grants from the Purple Heart Foundation. And so we will say you must be a Purple Heart member, and you or somebody else must apply and say why you are deserving of this trip. And probably that's the toughest part of this job, is reading through 75, 150 of these applicants and saying, this person's the most deserving because they lost 2 limbs here, but this person lost 2 limbs here. So they're not as it's very, very conflicting. It's very tough.
How hard, man. Wow.
And sometimes we just find the money and end up taking multiple people instead because we're touched by so many stories.
And it's of no cost to whoever attends.
The only thing we ask them to do is cover their travel to get here, which is basically a car ride most of the time. So outside of that, they get there, adventure's paid for, food, lodging. We give them 9 times out of 10, we have a professional photographer there that's going to film it or take video and photos, and they gets it back to them so they remember something. And then if it's a trophy hunt where it's like a high fence place where it's a huge whitetail or a black buck or whatever, we pay for the shoulder mount and the meat processing. So it's something they can put in their living room. And, I tell people all the time, my hope with this, when we do these trophy hunts, is that some veteran 20, 30 years from now is sitting on a couch and his grandson sitting on his lap and says, Dad, what's that?
Yeah.
Or Granddad, what's that? And he gets to tell him about Frontline. And I think it's really, really cool.
And what are the things they're telling you about how you make them feel and those moments of getting that feeling?
Sure.
And the reward you get for doing it?
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really unique. I think a lot of people think outdoors and they think just hunting and fishing, right? But we've done some really cool stuff. My VP is taking a bunch of people to a zoo. There was a picture on the screen a minute ago where we took 10 families, thanks to our friends at Chicken and Pickle.
Nice.
Took 10 families to a lake day where we took them on a double-decker lake, and there's 50 people and their kids sliding, and we're providing all the food and the fun, and we just ask them to drive there, and we're gonna have fun with them. But it's funny, sometimes what you wouldn't think is going to be impactful is we took some folks over to an indoor, it's an indoor gun range, but it's like play guns, if you will. It's like a fun course even for adults. But we invited 40 people. So we took 10 families of 4 there. And I remember specifically one of the dads pulled me to the side and said, hey, I just want to let you know, my son has not left this room in about 3 months, but somehow saw an advertisement for this. And because of this experience, I get to have my son out of his room and we get to spend time together. And those are the special moments for me. Sometimes it's bigger things. We had last year we took a family who he's a sheriff in Waco, Navy veteran. His wife had recently left her job because their daughter 7-year-old daughter has leukemia. And she wrote an application and said, hey, my husband really deserves this hunt. And the second I read it, I was immediately moved, and we worked with the girl's family to make sure the oncology unit was okay with them coming down. And we provided a weekend adventure for them in South Texas, because she wanted to hike, fish, and watch her dad hunt. So we've taken out over 700 people on trips so far in the past 2 years.
Wow.
And I obviously can't be on every single one of them. That's why I depend on my staff to do it. But this one really touched me. So while I couldn't go on the trip, I drove down to have lunch with the family. And this always gets me emotional, so I apologize. But we're sitting there, and I'm having just sandwiches with them, having a good time. We're laughing and talking about the future. And right before I go to leave, I couldn't stay very long, and I shake the dad's hand. I give the little girl a hug, and the mom comes and just hugs me, and she whispers on my ear, for about 5 minutes today, I forgot she had cancer. And I didn't cry in front of her, but that next 30 minutes going home was really, really tough for me. But it just, in the Air Force, we have a thing called being reblued, and it means that you kind of lose purpose, or you've lost purpose, and then something happens and you just get inspired again. And in that moment, I was re-frontlined, if you will, and just, hey man, me and my board members, we fight sometimes, we bicker, we don't agree, but moments like that make me remember why we do what we do. So those are the moments for me, for sure.
What are you seeing from all your veterans and active service members that you take on these trips, right? Do you see any of yourself in them from when you came back from active duty military, when you had that sort of that first re-blue moment you talked about, right? When you first wanted to, open up about PTSD, if you will. Do you see that version of Preston and a lot of the people that you encounter?
Yeah. Really, really fun story for you. So I took 10, my good buddy Brandon and I, who works for me, we took 10 people to the Disturbed concert, because we do a lot. Like I said, you name it, we've done it. We've done goat yoga,
rocking out. Yeah,
goat yoga.
That's
yoga.
two different ends of
Disturbed.
the spectrum right there. There's no in between.
Yeah. And,
I can't do it. I'd like to do it.
it was impressive.
It's pretty good.
Anyways, so we notify all the members between Brandon and I. And I remember calling this one guy, and I'm going off track here, but I cannot stand that. Please state your name so this person knows that you're a real person before. And so I'm sitting there like 2 minutes waiting for this dude to answer the phone, and he finally does, and he's super quiet, and I could barely hear him on the phone. And after I tell him, he pauses for like 30 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time. When you're on the phone with
30
somebody,
seconds, you don't
it's
know
a long
if they're
time.
there.
If I
Yeah.
pause for 30 seconds right now, your audience would leave this podcast,
yeah.
And I remember he paused for about 30 seconds, and I go, hey, bud, are you there? And I could hear him crying in the background. And he was like, I've never been selected for anything in my life. This is amazing. And then I went and met him, obviously at the concert, and he was super shy and super quiet. And I could tell either he had overcome some mental health aspects, or he was fighting through them. But watching him at the Disturbed concert headbang was freaking awesome. That was such a reviving moment for me. Like, because you're providing a service for something that somebody would have never done himself. I mean, he said he doesn't leave his house. He orders groceries and he orders food.
Wow. But you identify with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That slippery slope. You were on it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I wasn't, I promise you, one of my 40 staff members were. I like to brag about my board members. I've got a VP, Tom, who is an active duty Army major, and he is basically the satellite officer for all of Army South. I've got Keegan, who is our CFO, and he is probably one of the most highly decorated master sergeants I've ever seen in my life. He's done it all. I've got Trisha, who's a cyber officer, and she's got her master's in cybersecurity and cyber engineering. She's just wicked smart. And then Andrew, who runs a multi-million-dollar company here in San Antonio. There's a bunch of smart people, and they do amazing things. and I'm the dumbest one for sure. They follow me. I don't understand.
Well, the heart you have, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, to see you from that high school freshman to who you are today, man, is just incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you for serving. Thank you for serving our veterans. And before we wrap this,
How
I want to
how
make
can
sure.
people get involved, man?
Sure.
How can people get involved
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So biggest thing is to go on frontlineheroesoutdoors.org, sign up. If you're a military member, veteran, first responder, or a family member of such, or you have a friend or family member that falls into that category, have them sign up. It's completely free of charge. We will not spam you. We will literally just send out invitations to all these events and you can sign up for them for free of charge. Or if you are so moved to, we have monthly donations that are $5, $10, $15, $25 a piece. That helps fund fund what we're doing. Then we have, if you're on our website, we have all of our upcoming events that the public can attend. We're doing Fall Fest, which I think is October 24th at Pedrati's Ranch. And we have a bottle your own bourbon experience at Milam and Green, which is really cool. We got together some Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraqi, and Afghanistan vets, and we picked the barrel. And on Veterans Day or Veterans Day weekend, you can go bottle your own bourbon, and the proceeds go back to Frontline.
That's a
So
crew. That's a
it's
crew
just it's
right
really
there,
cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
We have an annual toy drive, all sorts of stuff. But the biggest thing is go frontlineheroesoutdoors.org or visit us on Facebook or Instagram, Frontline Heroes Outdoors.
Yeah, Frontline Heroes Outdoors, because again, there's somebody watching that either is going through it or knows someone who's going through it, and isolation is the worst place to be. You've got such a great team, and man, it's so great to see what you're doing. Thank you, bro.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I really mean it. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I get the beard upkeep is what we got to get into next time. That's what I want to do next time.
Yeah.
Preston Wall, man, thank you so much. Frontline Heroes Outdoors.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh,
Absolutely,
man, no, it's a
bro.
pleasure's
God
ours,
bless
man.
your work. God bless you, man.
Thank you.